which I'm going to cover today. So I'll introduce to the Angular.Js, then we'll create an Angular application, the first Angular application, then about the few developer tooltips, then talk about the JavaScript patterns which used in Angular, then I'll talk about the MVC component in Angular. Then introduction. So what Angular.js is? So this is a JavaScript framework, uh, web application, what Angular.js is. So it's an open source framework. We developed Angular.js. It's from this is a bigger community. What bigger community helps means all the problems, all the queries related to the Angular.js will be at that of a bigger community of Angular.js. And Angular is nowadays also very popular JavaScript framework because it to write less code, you invest less time to develop apps. The first thing on Angular.js felt off MVC. So what is MVC? So it's a model view controller Angular.js use uh, controller. So modern, but it keeps the uh, the date uh, but what generally renders on a browser where user interacts, where read on the right activity, and there is where exactly the business logic resides. Angular mention also there in GitHub, so anyone can download that code. They can if it has to work in their way, they can customize it. If found any issues, they can directly submit the Angular guys. So Angular, as not only the Google guys, currently there are 100 plus unique developers who contribute to the Angular.js community. And so it's a comprehensive. So why it's a comprehensive? Because Angular handles Ajax communication with server that we can send and receive data from backend and as a object. So we need to call any get and set to update those data. And handles showing data on page using partial template or modifying the HTML elements. Updating data or user interaction. So if user let's say anything in the text field, it automatically copies it to the model. No, we don't need to listen to any event. What we have to do, we have to just Angular certain text box own certain piece of data model and both in sync. So two-way binding also. So what interacts in the view changes happen in model updates in view. And the more Angular handles routing, moving view to another view. This page application by which change the view on user interaction and it's in a browser. So we have a new URL which can be bookmarked after changing the view. That's what Angular.js is very comprehensive. So because it reduces effort uh, per day because it handles those by itself. And Angular is testable. So guys create a lot of mock APIs. So many things in the AngularJS you can mock it to test it. There are a lot of neural methods which are only developed to make it testable. So when test using JS, which again developed by the AngularJS team, and so that extends the HTML vocabulary. So how it see the code snippet here. So this is an input where we have ID and type, and and so the input is the Angular component. So what you can say custom component which the developer can write and perform element. Go to the next snippet, the multi-state button. So this is an element. So what before Angular compiles, uh, this multi-state button can be replaced with some HTML to perform some specific task. With a so we can have our own attributes, own product, and we can take and so it just extends the HTML vocabulary. So these are this focus, multi-state button, user title. These are not predefined HTML, not the predefined HTML attribute or AngularJS custom thing, right, and behave the way they want. So that it extends the HTML vocabulary. I'll talk about the Angular architecture. So the fundamental architecture, which is a two-way binding, which is a very AngularJS is so much popular. It reduces effort from the developer. So if I talk about the two binding, inputs informed instantly of the model. It updates the model. In most of the cases, the not I mean the developer does watch any specific event and respond to them and manually update the HTML. This is taken care by the Angular itself by its two-way binding. Okay? So don't have to put data in specific structure to add setter to read and write data. We can build data directly into a plain JavaScript object and response whenever data changes or update automatically the view. So we don't have to listen. So what it does is there is a particular cycle where Angular go and check all the data whether it has changed or not. It changes the update the view. That's what the dirty check. And the is dependency injection. What it encapsulates the piece better so that it improves the testability and it improves managing of your uh, the modules of your entire application. We'll talk about the dependency injection in the future classes. Angular components. So the basic components of Angular, it starts to somewhere an Angular application. So it contain both the logic and the state of the application. So directives. And this is how it talks and listen to the user by its view. And controller can communicate to the view by two-way binding and one-way binding. The mainly part of the view. Talk more about the directive in classes and details. And last is services. So place to contain the real logic and state of the application. Essence asks complex business logic. This is a place where we communicate to the actual server. Okay. Then an application, Angular.Js application. So to the so what it provides Angular.js official website to this says it's HTML enhanced for web apps. So you download the latest version, the current 3, the article on 1.4, to the track 1.2. Also the examples which Angular guys has provided with a YouTube video which you can go through to understand few things. Then you can go to the learn section. There are few videos, there are few courses, tutorials, then CDAP project template. So what it CDAP project template is, it just gives you a structure to template to start with the to develop Angular.js application. So this is there in GitHub. We'll do that on our next classes. And section where the tutorial is there, developer guide is there, where you can see different concepts has been explained. What is controller? What is service? What is dependency injection? Expressions, filters? Everything has been uh, described here. Then we can go to the development. We so here if you see there are Angular functions been defined, the directives has been defined, the services. I mean, Angular. So this good Angular guys has given of documentation. So documentation is very good. For you can go to directly to the documentation. Then there is a website called with Angular.js. So nothing but where here the Angular.js team has put it to websites, few applications, few hybrid applications, web applications which has been developed using. So this I am showing just to you can go through that and you can see what kind of applications can be developed in Angular to get that. Okay, this can be done in Angular. And third one which I want to show is a Plunk. Okay, third. So Plunker is nothing but it provides you a developer environment to start with. So in the next class is how to set a developer environment locally, but for now I'm going to use Plunker because it has a developer environment from which we can start quickly. Just give me. Okay. Okay. Start with our first. this application, we need a Angular.js. So the starting point to any Angular.js application. So this JS can be downloaded from web. You can add as a strict tab. And the other thing we need to add an ngApp attribute to our HTML. So ngApp is nothing but a directive. So directives are what I explained before. It just HTML. And it is nothing but it's a short form of Angular. Let's say if this is the basic, then where any app we put from there on the Angular. So once it goes to the HTML, it look for the ng app. If it finds the ng app from there, it okay. We so the right side, the popular packages are showing, and Angular.js at the top. We can search also here in the search packages. So what I'll do, I'll just go ahead and add a version of Angular to our, you can, it just add 2.28 Angular.js file. So hosted in some server folder. So if we do a local repo, we download this Angular.js file and put it, or we can directly source this path as in some server. So for our case, we are good to go. This is enough to Angular. So the text hello from first. So by adding this Angular.js, it moves to Angular application. So what we have to do, we have to add the app and reload the application again. And we see, so we know if Angular is working. So here will this double curly braces. So this is a binding expression in Angular. So if I put here 324 divided by 28, expression is computed. So what HTML? By 28. So can be, so it can be a div label also. So if I put it a div and I can I'll repeat. So what binding expression, it's taking the expression and it's computing. So means our Angular is taking effect. Can be put at a level. We can change people follow at the root structure HTML file, which is HTML tag. So there we can put it body, we can put it div anywhere. So just make quickly a div and here what I'll put here the application, and I putting it up anywhere in the application doesn't make any sense. It will be at the root label. So from there on, Angular can take. So if inside this div, then we can compute and source the result. So we have with Angular.js. Okay. write the input tag. So again a directive gapp. So sorry, a model message and the date Angular. So we give the moment I type. So, so this attack has been type ng model, which is nothing but message, and this we page it. So this is what the map of Angular.Js, the binding. The bind. So this is our first Angular. See how pretty easy this. If we have to achieve the same in the check query, so we have to listen the on key and we have to read that element in we need to display. So that convert. So I have not involved my script. You can see so only index.html I can able to achieve this. So the thing in here to render that. HTML. Okay, slide. So here we're talking about the developer tooltips. I'll very quickly go through this. So Plunker, what we have used here. So Plunker is a very useful tool. So again, this Plunker also has been developed in Angular.js. So what we can create a new plunk for template also. So we can see here we can have a script or styles. We can add new file. We can add the CSS, HTML, whatever file we need. We can have a description here. Then GitHub is nothing but online repository tool. We can post code there. Anyone can download. Anyone can modify. So we can see we can download this as a zip file and we can host on our loop. So we can develop application here. We can download that as a zip file. We can host the server and we can run that application. We can send to someone live preview. So whenever we'll click it, it's load application. So the small one manually refresh it, and this is different. So this we are about the view which should render and all. This is all the external libraries, the Angular, anything external libraries and all back to our application. Where it throws any error and all if it's there, code link inting. And this is a small setting. We can set everything. We can change the themes of our editor. We can make it Eclipse theme, so we can see the view has been changing. We can do the Chrome auto refresh. So what will happen anytime any changes to the file, the view will auto refresh. We can so uh, we enable. Okay, then we'll quickly move to okay, Chrome debug tool. a very useful one, developing any web hybrid application. So we can open this Chrome do. So in the back, the command option I will the tool in, or we can do a right click, do an inspect element, whether on the Windows, it will open this. And this element page is nothing but this is a view. So we see how this view has been uh, the uh, views, how many views, text alignment, everything we can see here. We can dynamically modify here. We can see what is state dynamically modifying the elements, the class and all, and then we can get a copy to the CSS file. This is what the second network here. All the service calls happen. So if any service call I'll do, I can see with or get what kind of data I'm sending with the service, what all response got, everything can be looked here. So I can go to the look at if I put any breakpoints, I can put that this thing to debug. This is the time we can JavaScript execution time it takes, how much memory it's taking, how much rendering our application took. Here we can do a programming, we can take a heap memory snapshot, heap allocation, Java CPU profiling, everything. Yes, this so in our applications or Android applications we use the local storage, system storage, application caches. These are SPI features, index to those let's say. And console, if anything goes wrong with the application, throws error, I open my script there, I just type something, then I run my application, and it throws error. It doesn't know what this is. So that's how this console is useful. Let's console dot I can go to source, I can open that file, I can run it again. So see it resume again. So this can be easy. So useful. So whenever developing any application, it's the best thing to develop and happy with our application. So Chrome debugging tool. Then move quickly to the next slide, which talk about the JavaScript patterns which is used in the Angular app. So there are a few patterns which follows by the Angular application. So we know JavaScript use functional programming of a JavaScript. That's so the which I'll talk about the JavaScript pattern is function abstraction. So what mean the function is abstraction? So I have a variable which has been assigned to a function. Here I'm doing thing. I'll just print a console log which says oh, just define the function. We will now have to call it. Let's call work. Clear my console. I'll run application. It's working hard. So abstraction. So we have defined a function. We have assigned it to variable. Then call the variable as a function. The way of let's say var do work equal to a function which takes a character as a function, and I'll call this function inside my body work and then do work. And let's quickly function. I have not passed any parameters, that's why it's so let's say pass work as a parameter. So a function which is taking an argument as a function and calling a function inside that. So again, called do work and calling the do work the function set. This is how the function abstraction works and control every follows this approach. Then the next point, which is functions to build modules. So I follows the modular approach of JavaScript. So this function we can use function to build modules. So how structure the module structure like this. So here we can create a variable or an object, I can say, from a function, let's say, or a cursor, what we call in other language, and worker dot job one, worker dot job two. So job two can be anything in the real application, maybe making data, doing some job two. So that. So this is how we need uh, achieve this. So that I'll say create worker, I'll assign it to a function which will be job one job. So there are so many ways. So let's say say here I return and function this to a function and I can store. But I don't want to. So this also can be doable. So but what in a same way, uh, what will the variable and we'll assign that to a function dot log cost. We can have job cost so it's unexpected token. What happened? An extra parenthesis there. Print. So here see the task1 and task1 are the private function create worker and but we have exposed the job one job two out of that. Our object on the outer world only have access to job one and job two. So this is what the function we use the function to build modules. Let's say if I say worker dot one run my application, but the task one is because we have not exposed it. So for the modular approach, we can have local the the of that function. Let's say we can say work count work 0 and what you can do is say work count plus equal to increment the work count every time do a task, then we print it. So let's call a few more jobs. Then we, and again task one. This is how the work count is able to a function which we have not exported outside, but we can use that in a the count. So this modular approach of the modular in which function can be used to build module. The bad thing is here we have validated so many global variables because these are not this function directly. We have the script.js at the window level, the global variables, and for programming the global variables are dangerous, and for JavaScript global variables are monster. Remove that. This is functions to avoid global variables. So how we use functions again to avoid global variables? So, so what we do, we have a more variable named program assigned to a function. We put the entire program in the body. Okay, clear my console. Yeah. And what I have done, I have reduced from two global variable to now one global. That's why I have a global variable used by anyone, which can be modified by anyone, so which is still not good practice. So, so what my fourth topic is, immediately invoke function expression. So now again we'll use a function to reduce the global variable count to 0. How we will do that? And what we do, we'll remove this variable also. We'll wrap it up inside a function. So we'll so the function, and the argument is the entire function. The function itself for my application will quickly run the application. So that is so as script.js is loaded, my this function is getting and everything will get executed. Global variable to 0, and everything what I have shown you now using the function, how we have used the function to build modules, how we have made the global variable change. This is what Angular also uses. After so this is onwards, and the next class is onwards, whatever I'll talk about. So now this is Angular. So what the Angular says. So in my previous slide, MVC module view controller, and controller is a G controller. If we use controller, we have to use this directive in our HTML. And ng means Angular. So we have to say, we have to use ng controller to provide a name of that controller. So this name can be main controller. Any name can be given. And Angular does. So whenever Angular do a compilation of the HTML file, or whenever it reads the HTML file, it reads the ng.app. From there on, it takes the control. Then it's this ng controller, and calls this function a main controller automatically. How Angular knows where the controller is. We have to define main controllers. So this is a abstraction what I've shown in my previous. So the function, and function takes a parameter called $scope. Dollar. So again Angular specific like ng. So where Angular application use dollar means it's an Angular component. Pass a parameter called scope, and here is model. So create a scope object which is attached to that controller, and that object contains the model. So here message is a model, which is nothing but a property to a scope object. Next, models, what I have explained, models are the properties of a scope, and scope is attached to the DOM where access through binding. So example you can see in this scope.message we have mentioned hello Angular, and this we can make a binding expression, and we scope we in view through binding, and this is a template and specifically directive, and the scope as parameter. So scope can have values. So this was MVC component in Angular. Quickly move our example section clunker, and we will, so we to the bottom can assign a ng controller, and we can name the messages. We'll remove this. To do, we have to define the controller equal to function which parameter is scope, message equal to hello, and we have been binded with the binding expression. .js is already sourced in. So now I'll quickly go and run application. Fine. Oh, there is a ng controller. So is how we have used a controller simple to print hello Angular. So message a model here, and object at the controller. So when we create a controller, it creates scope object in which we can in our model, and this model view using this and provide the HTML attribute. We say this body is the inch body is made. That is the second, the controller model. So slide. So what our next slide says? Our next slide is the capability. So what are control? Multiple controllers. So you can see the example. A view of multiple controllers. So you can see we have a body tag. So there are divs, there are controllers which has been main controller, chart controller. So you can have multiple so it doesn't have to be a single property of scope object. So object can be also object for scope. So you can see the second control stop controller here, stop dot symbol. So you can symbol our properties to that object, and again stop object called scope. So the scope would be a complex one. Objects it will have the methods and everything. So you can see there is a div inside that there is another div where that is chart controller. So we can have a nested controller. So inside a controller we can have give the control to some other controller for some sex. So that's possible. And what is not only used in Angular to sort text view, it can be used to manipulate any attributes of the HTML element. Like we can see there is example image element where source is attribute, where giving the source we are to a model. So we replace the URL, and that URL can be controller. Same alt attribute, the description can be in control model, and that we can uh, clunker. So that works. So I'll go to the script.js and I'll create a var name, or even var details. Smoothie. Have a day, we can say details equal to this a model. So here dot and binding expression. You can say d dot last name. And again, and you can say here first name, first name, hello PM. So we can name them with last name. So done here. So now our model is an object, and we have objects with a dot operator in our view. So what isn't necessary only we use the binding expression to print text in our view. What we do, we can also, so what will source and why. So here we give the details. Now see, so has been loaded using the binding expression. So what I do, I define a model where I run the URL, and that URL I have binded to the source attribute. So and not attribute can be modified with or can be controlled with the binding expression. So here I put one more attribute, let's say title, and I'll say name again. Over on the image you can see the emoji appears. So also using the binding, so you're seeing there are few bad requests are coming. So what the browser, it detects a source attribute, it from load what, so it's so when Angular works before this is so equal to details. After Angular compiles HTML, it replaces this data source is actual. So to avoid this, again it's an attribute. Uh, so, so now because it has, so this build simple view controller and the complex objects replacing the attributes value by, so this is the complex. It says we placed our first demo or first of and which is forward there will be lot of exciting because we'll cover up a lot more features. Similar, we can see team, we can see services, directives, so many things. That thank you this